What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight. I'm your host, owner, and founder of Vicktory Life, Dwight Vick, and today I'm recording a very special episode that we've been working diligently trying to get the schedules right. We finally got a very special group of pioneers on my Legacy Spotlight. The track girls, the VT track girls are on the show today. I'm very happy about it. This is a great group. I was at Tech for a few years with them. I was like their big brother, their big OG, but they kept me laughing. But not only were they great athletes, but they're great women, and I'm honored to have them on. So, track girls, what's up?
Yeah.
Hey, girls.
Yes. What's up,
I love
y'all?
it. I love it. I love it. I love it. First of all, once again, thank y'all for jumping on. I know it's been crazy because we're older now. We have real life gets in the way. So I'm honored to have y'all on. This is going to be a great episode because you guys are great women. And also, I didn't promote it like I normally did. So when I post this on my different platforms, it's going to be a very pleasant surprise. But just let my viewers and subscribers know the reason why this episode is special because Virginia Tech men's and women's track is now in the ACC, and it's two of the best programs, not only in the conference, but in the nation. But in talking with April Byrd, who was on my Legacy Spotlight before, just hers was well received and really a great episode. But she also told me in prepping for that, there were a lot of things I was not aware of, and it kind of stuck with me. And I wanted to, revisit that. Now, obviously, you ladies had other teammates that were part of that renaissance and getting Tech track, women's track on the map, but we couldn't get everybody on. So I wanted you guys, ladies, to speak on not just your legacy, but the program builder. But before we do that, we're going to take it back to where it all started. Melanie, I'll start with you first. We're going to go around. Melanie, what years were you at Tech and what events did you specialize in? Then Brandi, and then we'll go around.
Yep, I started at Virginia Tech. My first track season, it was the 96-97 season. And I believe my last season with Virginia Tech was the 98 spring season. So some great initial years there with the Virginia Tech track and field family. But I came in with this group of amazing athletes.
And you also are from Northern Virginia, where I currently reside.
Yeah. Yes, I am.
What high school did you go to?
I went to George C. Marshall High School, home of the Statesmen, one of the smallest schools in Northern Virginia.
It is. I've been living up here for 20-something years now. It is, but hey, it got you there, so that's great. All right, Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, Brandi, let everybody know.
Hello, Brandi Smith here. I was at Tech between 96 and 2000, and some of the events I was recruited to do the heptathlon. Not a lot of people know what that is. Jackie Joyner Kersey, and then finished running the 400 hurdles.
Yeah, and you are from the 757, known for football and basketball, but also other great athletes and entertainers. You went to Norcom, right?
That's right. I see Norcom in Portsmouth, Virginia.
P-Town, the old Norcom, about that, the old
That's
Norcom,
right.
not the new Norcom. Thank you for jumping on. And Jennifer.
Hello, Jennifer Cook Middleton. I was at Virginia Tech from 1996 to 2000. I ran the 100 hurdles and sprints, and I went to IC Norcom High School out of Portsmouth, Virginia.
Yeah, okay. Another P-Town legend here. April.
Yes, I was at Virginia Tech from 96 to 2000. I am from Northern Virginia. I went to West Potomac High School.
Yeah.
Oh, and I did long jump and triple jump, sorry.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. And Danya.
Yes, Danya Gordon. How do I introduce myself? Well, originally from Jamaica. No. Originally from Jamaica. I went to high school in Trenton, New Jersey. My events were the 2, 4, and the 8 and the relays. And I was at Tech from 96 to 2000 as well.
Okay, all right. So you got some visitors there, man. You got some people with you? Yeah, it's all good. So this is what we're going to do, because before we get into your story at Tech, all of y'all together, and let's, a lot of times people don't realize the backstory behind one chooses a school. I mean, I've learned so much about track. My wife ran track in Northern Virginia. She was all met, and my kids ran track. My youngest still runs now. So I'm always learning. And April's always, April and Melanie are quick to get on me like, you didn't post this on the, and I'm like, hey, I'm not the, everyone labels me the Virginia Tech ambassador because I post so much. And maybe that's me, but at the same time, you know, it's one of those things where it's tough sometimes to keep up. So this is going to be great. So let's start with you, Melanie. We're going to go back to you. You ran track and you did track and field in Northern Virginia, but how did Virginia Tech come about on, you know, the school you chose? Because, you know, track now, Virginia Tech women's track is known, but back then it was not. So tell us.
Honestly, Virginia Tech was not on my radar initially, other than the fact that all of my high school friends were all going to be attending it. Everyone was, you know, applying to go to Virginia Tech. I was not. My focus was track and field. So I was focusing on University of South Carolina, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, Brown University, some other universities. And it wasn't until I visited Virginia Tech, and I remember it because it was a beautiful day. It was almost like they had it planned. There were people outside on the drill field playing frisbee and volleyball, and it looked beautiful. And there were promises of all these other amazing track and field athletes who I knew by name, just by way of competing at the state and national level, that they were also being wooed to go to Virginia Tech. And so just hearing that these ladies were getting ready to commit and hearing that we could start something special at the university, versus, you know, joining a winning program off the jump, that really appealed to me. And plus I knew some of the other ladies here, namely April, because we were from the same area.
Yeah.
And so for me, I just thought that was awesome that we could come in and make a name for the program.
No doubt.
And that's how I got to Virginia Tech.
That's what's up. And you now you said you knew about April because y'all up here where I live now in Northern Virginia. Like, so she was the real deal. It's not all hype. She was that good.
Yeah, she was all right. No, I'm just kidding. No, April was very, very good. You know, I would always see her on the runway getting ready to do her jumps. And of course, she also did her sprint and relays as well. And so I couldn't come anywhere near her on triple jump, however, so I didn't touch that.
That's what's up. Yeah, no, that's good, man. I'm glad you chose Tech, man. And it's just crazy how things work out. And it's so funny because back then, I feel like everybody had that same kind of visit where you like, you know, I like Tech, and you get there like, oh my God, this is great. It was just one of those perfect weekends. And then you realize it's not always like that. Cook and Brandi, you both can go off mute. I want to do y'all together. Y'all are both from the 757. As we talk, and I know y'all, we're from the same area, and the 757 is very urban, and it's much different from Southwest Virginia. It's much different from the 804, Richmond, and even Northern Virginia, where I've been living for 20 years, is very diverse. I grew up in Newport News and then moved to Hampton, where, you know, I only saw a white guy in my neighborhood if he was turn the cable off, or he might have been a mailman. You guys are from Portsmouth, P-Town. So, you know, our good friend, my brother Sharon Stith, has always talked about the P-Town pride. Dorita Ratcliffe was on a Legacy Spotlight. She still, even now, has that P-Town pride. Brandi, I'll start with you. You chose Tech, but was Tech on your radar? How'd you come about choosing Virginia Tech?
No, Tech was not on my radar. I had never heard of Virginia Tech until they started recruiting me. There's the schools in our area, Norfolk State, ODU, Hampton, Christopher Newport. We had those schools, so I wasn't checking for Virginia Tech. It was my high school coach and Jennifer Cook. Like, we went to high school together, ran together. So to me, I don't know if you feel this way, Cook, but I was like, we a package deal. So, and honestly, I don't think Tech was checking for me. They were really looking at Cook. I didn't start running until my junior year. So she was already making a name for herself. And I kind of was able to step into, I don't want to say step into her spotlight, but she was already making a name for herself. And I feel like, you know, I was blessed that she was, you know, doing her thing in track when I came along. So, but it was my high school coach who said, go where the football program is go where the money is, go where the football program is doing well.
Really? Hold on. Before you go, Cook, elaborate on that, because I kind of know, and April's kind of educated me on this, but just elaborate, Because everyone doesn't know that. Go speak on that a little bit more.
What about going where the program?
Where the football,
Because he
yeah.
just felt like, so the schools that were looking for, I was playing, so like I never ran track, played ball, or did anything until my junior year. So I always played soccer. And so
Soccer.
mhm.
I did not know that. Wow.
I grew up playing soccer and football with my brother. So I have a twin brother. So he said of the schools that were looking at me were for basketball, and he was like, go where the football program is good, because you won't have to worry about a thing. You won't have to, you know, and some of the stories that I heard later on about my friends who went to other schools, I won't say what schools, but my check was in my account before I stepped foot on the campus. I never had to worry about my class schedule. I never had to worry about, you know, I just didn't know what the other experience was until later. And it was, I had to give props to, you know, the football team was making a name for themselves at the time. So.
Yeah, it's true. That's very true. Cook, say your decision.
For me coming out of Portsmouth, and I must say that before like the state meet indoor, I had never heard of Virginia Tech.
Right.
My high school coach leaned over to me one meet and was like, "Ooh, have you ever thought about Virginia Tech?" And I was like, "Where is that at?" And he was like, "Shh, shh, she's over there. The coach is over there." But when we went on our visit, and especially come out of Portsmouth, you know, in Tidewater, we had indoor track, but we didn't have indoor tracks. We didn't run inside until the state meet or invitationals. So all they had to tell me was that you're gonna get to run inside. Once they showed me the dining hall and where I was gonna be living, I was like, sign me up.
Well, Cook, talk about our visit though. It was.
But see, I don't know. But I think the visit, the things, you know, that got you, you know, and Brandi must say was very modest. Brandi was very good, and you know, even though she started later, I feel like Virginia Tech looked at her and saw that, you know, she was still figuring it out, and you know, she had a lot of talent, space to grow. But for Brandi, I think when you was on the visit, you were looking at different stuff than I was. I was like, "Ooh, we gonna have some good heat." You know,
you came in with experience, track experience, knowing what it was supposed to be. My experience was I didn't know indoor track was supposed to be ran indoors. I was like, oh, it's just called indoors because it's in the wintertime. Like I had no idea. So it was very different. So when I came on the campus, they brought us in, it was Black Alumni Weekend.
Ooh. What year was that?
96, right?
That was a great weekend. Yeah, that was special. I remember that.
So I thought it was going to be, I didn't know, we didn't say Norcom was a predominantly Black school. Norcom
I know, yes. So
school.
those watching in Norcom, historically, their band is one of the best bands in the state and on the East Coast. And it was sometimes right up there with Hampton University and Norfolk State. So that's a great point.
So I didn't know Virginia Tech was Virginia Tech. And so we came in Black Alumni Weekend. I just thought, oh, okay, this is gonna be an extension of, it's some white people here more than I'm used to, but it's cool. It's, you know, and I just thought it was gonna be more of the same, not a historically Black college. I didn't think that, but I just thought, oh, it's more of us here than what I was expecting.
Kind of like how ODU and VCU is. Well, ODU has about 40-something% African American, I think. My daughter's there, she's a freshman. And it's a lot more diverse than Virginia Tech. But yeah, go ahead.
You thought, I thought it was gonna be like ODU.
Yeah. Go ahead, Cook. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're fine. But I was gonna say, like, in terms, like, you know, Portsmouth is so Black. It's like Black, like, you know, the only white people that they are like the police, some of the teachers, and like the white people who were too poor to get out.
Yes.
Like, like,
look at Melanie's face. Look at Melanie's.
Cook ain't tell no lies.
She's not. I know. I live across the water. I know exactly. Look, I got people now that miss the exit. You know, when they go to Merrimack Tunnel, and they get over there, and they're like, "Oh, this is not Virginia Beach. It's not Chesapeake." I'm like, "No, it's not." But no, that's what's up, man. I'm gonna move on to April. April, before you became, you know, the honored as Virginia Tech Hall of Fame sports inductee, you were just like these other ladies your sisters and teammates, you were running track in high school, field events, and all of that good stuff. Tell your story about how you came about choosing Virginia Tech.
You know, it was very similar to, well, for me, the difference was I grew up watching sports. From like, my mom was a sports fanatic, you know, we would have Super Bowl parties. It was like athletes, you know, this and the other. So I always watched like Georgetown, University of Maryland, George Mason, a lot of the schools that were in the Northern Virginia, DC area. So I kind of already had like an idea of what to expect from an athletic program, but my idea was warped because my idea was what I saw the male sports, you know, achieving and getting and stuff like that. And so the advice that I was given was similar to Brandi, which was go, you know, when Virginia Tech was recruiting me, I knew Virginia Tech didn't have a track team. So I was like, huh? And then a lot of people were like, no, wait, the football team, they balling, you know, this, that, and the other. So I was like, well, let me start looking at the Virginia Tech football team, and y'all were doing it. So I was like, oh, okay. And then obviously when they said they were recruiting Melanie, who I knew was a beast, and then Brandi and Jennifer, who I knew were beasts too, I was like, okay, if they go, and I remember me and Melanie towards the end, we were like, you going? Yeah, I'm going. Then every time we would see each other, we would kind of like reassure each other, like, are you going? Okay, yeah, I'm going to go. And so that's how I ended up there. But yeah, so that was my experience.
And you're right. And I was in the chat. I know our viewers can't see it, but in the chat, you and Melanie were tripping off of Cook and Brandi about how it was such a different experience. And that's so true, because I moved to Northern Virginia in 2000. I lived in Fairfax. My wife and I had a condo in Fair Lakes near Fair Oaks Mall for 4 years before we moved to Prince William. And it is different. I love it up here in the DMV, but it is different. You know, just the resources that you get and the different schools. Like my high school, Hampton High, did not have air conditioning until 1994. Yeah, it was crazy. And then I meet my wife and people from Northern Virginia, and you know, they got everything. I remember I subbed when I was cut from football. I was subbing at Westfield High School, and they had flat screen TVs in every classroom. So it is a different situation, but it is what it is. I think our experiences make us unique, and we can grow and learn from it. Danya, how'd you come about from Jamaica to Jersey and to Tech? How did that come about? Because that is very unique.
So I came here when I was 12 to the US, and I started running track late, maybe my sophomore year. I preferred soccer, of course, that didn't manifest to anything because I was sabotaged, but nevertheless, as a Jamaican, I really only had two choices: soccer or track and field. I chose track and field. I didn't know anything about Virginia Tech. I don't even know how Coach Victoria found me. I really don't. But my high school coach, I remember him talking to me about an opportunity to go out of state. And I'm like, okay. And I had a few opportunities to go out of state. Virginia Tech was one of them. So I had the opportunity to go to Nebraska, Virginia Tech, George Mason, out of state. And I had a few in-state prospects. I chose Tech primarily because of the environment and the promises that were promised to me. Unlike the other girls, I had expectations of what a track program would look like. I actually ran indoor track on an indoor track at Princeton University. So when they promised that, okay, you come here, you'll have all of those things, I'm like, okay, sounds good. And a full scholarship, okay, let's do it. And of course, the campus was beautiful. It still is. So that is why I chose Virginia Tech, because of the promises that were promised to me. And of course, the environment. It was a beautiful environment. And of course, the girls, she expressed to me that she was choosing 7 horsemen, as she said, and 7 Black girls, different areas, different specialties. And she's like, I'm going to groom you guys to be one of the best on the East Coast. So I was like, okay, I'm ready. You're sold. I'm sold. Let's go.
That's really good, though. That's kind of what Beamer did in '94 with my class, with me, Toni Morrison, that whole, you know, we were at the time one of the best recruiting classes, and we were part of that whole thing that Cornell Brown and those guys had started, we came in behind them, and I'm sure the same thing happened with, you know, Keon and Sharon and all them. So I think that's the recruiting pitch that a lot of the tech coaches in different sports were using. Now, let me ask you this, Daniel. I can't remember. I'm asking you, but this is anybody can answer, but I'll ask you. Did you remember, or did you get there when the old indoor track was at Tech in the field house, or were y'all there when the new one was built? Oh, I see you nodding, April. Do you remember, Daniel? The new one? You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute.
The new one. I remember when they were building the new one. Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually built the new one.
Yeah. See, if you had saw the old one, you probably would have reneged on your commitment.
Yeah,
Because the old one was there. You wouldn't have came. Go ahead, April. Y'all can go off. Y'all can go off mute. Go on, everybody.
Yeah,
go
no,
off
we
mute.
knew.
Yeah.
That was part of the
They
comments,
told us they
right?
were building a new track, a new indoor track.
We knew that they were bringing in 7 elite athletes, that they had brand new facilities, that banked indoor track was supposed to be the fastest in the entire nation. So we knew all
I'm
those
used to
awesome
those
facts
things
coming
up
in.
north. I'm used to the bank track in New York, the flat track in Princeton University. So I'm like, okay, you promised this. I'm expecting this.
Right.
And while I'm gonna say big that it was coming, it wasn't there yet. So we were still basing our decision off the hope and the dream. Because think about the indoor track, they said we purchased it, it's coming. The outdoor track was still a dirt pile.
There was no track. Right.
I know. That's why. Look, and you know, my wife was older than y'all. She was in Northern Virginia. And she was a really good runner, and she was an engineer major. And I asked her why she didn't pursue it, and she was like, "You came in behind me, but that indoor track, which I saw when I got to Tech, was sort of a death trap. There were people that were getting hurt on that joint. Like for real, it was in the field house. You know, I mean, it's just crazy how much that program has grown, which y'all have a lot to do with. April or Cook, one of y'all can answer this question. Danya has said 7. I know I have just y'all. Who are the other? I can't remember because some of the years run together. Who were some of the other ladies that came in with y'all? April.
You put me on the spotlight.
Bridget.
Bridget.
And Bridget Miller.
What was her last name?
Miller.
And then
She was a high jumper.
Yes, Bridget was a high jumper, and she went to Dinwiddie High School.
Gotcha.
And the other person was Rashida Dodson, and she was from Indiana.
Yeah. Okay, I do remember Rashida. All right, so I'll start with the P-Town ladies. Y'all can go. So y'all get to Tech, because now we all gonna talk about some of the stuff that April hit me to. Recruiting, even now, back in the day, the 90s, even right now, they show you the great stuff. They tell you what they're doing. They give you their vision. Obviously, after the shine wore off, you realize that Black Alumni Weekend was a weekend. And you realize, you know, them Blacksburg winters get real cold. And, you know, Virginia Tech, even now, even though we're not good, it's still a football school. Now, obviously, basketball and women's and indoor track and wrestling are really, really good, conference champions and things like that. But with that being said, y'all two get there, you know, Brandi and Jen, y'all get there, and how is it? Like, you know, how is the transition, the coaching, you know, how is everything? Because, you know, I'm older than y'all by a few years. I'm dealing with football, so I don't know. So, you know, Brandi, how was it?
I was gonna ask Cook if she wanted to say.
All right, Cook, or whatever. One of y'all go. Cook, you tell me. Tell us.
Well, before we even got to like, you know, practice and stuff, I think like the first 2 weeks in, that's when the shine kind of wore off. Because that's when we kind of got in a car accident. Melanie was the only one that wasn't with us. So I had fallen asleep and we had crashed in Charlottesville coming back. And so being young, you know, we're thinking the first thing you do, you call your coach. Your coach is gonna come get you. But they hit us real fast with the, oh no, that's against NCAA rules. And so we had to like struggle to get back.
Hold on. Who's in the car? Why y'all in Charlottesville?
Well, so it was me, Brandi, April, Danya, and Rashida. So we went, call ourselves being grown, going to, you know, Tidewater for Labor Day. Because Rashida had never seen the ocean because she was from Indiana. So we thought,
She was promised there was a beach in Virginia, so she was
Yeah,
expecting a beach
That's
in
why I came to
Lynchburg.
Virginia as well. I was told that I was close by the beach. I'm like, oh, yes. All
Oh,
day.
they really lied. They really lied.
Mhm.
Close
You
by
know,
the beach.
as
Closer
a
than
Jamaican,
what she was, I guess.
Man, so y'all almost dead?
I
Someone
mean,
said in the
pretty
chat,
much.
y'all
I
thought y'all
thought
were
we were gonna
dead.
die.
I
Well,
thought we were gonna die too.
How bad was the accident? How bad was it?
Oh, it was bad. We flipped over like 3-4 times.
Up in the air and
in
flipped.
the middle of 81,
Yep.
81 South.
All and the mountain.
Melanie, where was you at?
I was the goody goody two shoes of this crew. I was in my dorm at Cochran Hall, minding my business, when I received the call about all my teammates, and I thought, well, there goes a whole bunch of them. I guess it's just me and Bridget now. We'll hold it down.
Yo, that's crazy. Thank God y'all survived. That's crazy.
It is crazy. Not just survived, walked away with not a scratch. I couldn't believe it. Only one person had a scratch, but if you saw the car,
Yeah.
walked away without a scratch.
Yeah, had
Now-
you saw
now-
the car, you would have
What-
been like, whoa.
What time was it when that accident? Because back then we had no rhyme or reason. We leave at 2 in the morning,
Exactly.
11 at night.
It was like
What-
6 something,
Middle of the day.
6 something
I
in the
was-
evening. Yeah, like 5
What?
something. But
So you was tired.
yeah, I was tired. I hung
We
out all
went
night.
out.
We hung
Cooked
out.
mom made us a
like
home cooked meal.
fried chicken and mac and cheese and stuff. Knowing now, not to eat that before you get on the road and drive 4.5, 5 hours. And so I was tired. And I thought if you crack the window and play the music real loud, that'll keep you awake, but that don't work.
Man, no. So you survived that, and then you realize that Coach Shaw. I'm sure you were like, okay, you can't come get us, but you make it back. Y'all get back, and obviously you survive. The rest of your freshman year, what occurred? Like highs, lows, what happened? Like just in your own words. You still don't go ahead.
Beyond like equipment. I mean, I thought our coaching was good our first year. I think most people can agree with that. Like Victoria, she was very, she knew how to motivate us, and she knew how to had us thinking we could do anything. And so like our first, so basically our freshman year, we won indoor and outdoor. Just like, we came on the scene, Atlanta 10, they didn't know what happened at Virginia Tech. We were winning everything.
And
I remember that.
we were all improving. We're PRing, like we were seeing the results, so we trusted her,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, Melanie and April and Danya, y'all can go off mute. What was it like for y'all? Melanie, I'll start with you. Your freshman year. I mean, obviously, being from Northern Virginia, Virginia Tech, unlike Brandi and Cook, Northern Virginia is diverse, certain parts, but you're used to. When I moved up here, I remember going to the ATM. You can get it, withdraw money in different languages, because it was like so many different ethnic groups and nationalities up here. So for you survived the accident because you were in the dorm being a goody. But describe your first year at Tech, and then I'll get to y'all too. Like, what was it like?
Freshman year was great. I had a different experience than Brandi and Jennifer coming in. As you mentioned, I'm from Northern Virginia, so it's super diverse, and I've lived all over the world. So to me, that wasn't a culture shock at all. But meeting my teammates, just learning how their areas were, where they came from, they were full of jokes.
Yes, I remember.
They would have me talk to them people. So anytime we needed some sort of influence with white folks, I was the one who did the speaking, or the one who got on the phone, that you called me for that. But no, freshman year experience was amazing. I established friendships for a lifetime. I had an amazing track career, like Brandi and Jennifer both said. We were winning everything. We were shattering records. I got a Rookie of the Year honor with Atlantic 10. It was just a great experience. And I loved every bit of it. I loved being a student athlete. So waking up first thing in the morning, going to the gym, then going to class and fighting for parking spots, then rushing to practice, then going to mandatory study hall for that first year. And on top of having all these wonderful ladies and then building relationships with all the other athletes in Cochran Hall, I also had friends that I'd known since I was 11 and 12 years old, who were also at the school. So for me, it was like a home away from home, plus knowing exactly what I loved. So I had a great freshman year.
No doubt, no doubt. I see. That's why I love doing these. I did not know that you got rookie. That's awesome. That's what I did not know that. April.
Yes. So, I hear you comparing myself and Melanie to Brandi and Jennifer because they came from like a predominantly Black school. So yeah, I came from West Potomac, which was probably very diverse. Like when I say diverse, it was diverse, not 5% Black people. That's not diverse to me. So when I got to Virginia Tech, that was a culture shock for me because Virginia Tech was not diverse at all. Like Virginia Tech is like 90% white, 2% Black, and 8% other. You know what I'm saying? Like to me, that's not diversity. So it was a culture shock for me as well. Like I didn't come from a place that was like 98% African American, but I came from a place that was like truly, truly diverse. It was probably like 40% white, 40% Black, and then 20% other. We're at West Potomac, and that's rough numbers, but it was like a good mix. And Virginia Tech did not represent that for me, so it was a culture shock for me. I don't know if I said this in the first one, but when I went home for Christmas, I really contemplated not coming back. Like I was not going to come back to Virginia Tech. I didn't like it. It was too cold. It was too far. It was in the boonies. It just wasn't much to do there. But finally, I just decided to go back. And then going into that second semester, freshman year, is probably when I really kind of found myself a little bit as a student athlete at Virginia Tech. So that was my experience. Like coaching wise, I love the coach. That was one of the reasons I went there. She was a great coach. We all were on I will say this about my teammates that are here now. I think they're all being like a little too humble as far as their talent. I know for me, ultimately, after everything was said and done, I was the one inducted into the Hall of Fame, but a lot of people don't really understand the talent that these women had. Like Jennifer and Melanie were like milliseconds as freshmen, milliseconds away from qualifying for the NCAAs as freshmen in the hurdles. I think Brandi was close. Like all of them were like a lot closer than me. You know what I'm saying? Like they were like, our coach was so on it with them, and I was doing well as well, but like they were like really there as freshmen. Like it was like, oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? So I think they're being a little too humble right now as far as like who they were in high school and stuff like that. So I'm like, yeah, y'all, and Brandi talking about, oh, I only ran in my junior year. Like, yeah, that's showing you was a beast.
That's very true. That's very true. Because I mean, she joined late and then got an offer.
Correct. Like, and the times that Brandi was running, like in her heptathlete, like the heptathlete, she said a lot of people don't know what it is. Like, you have to be a straight beast to do the heptathlete, because that means you're good at every event, like every event, from long jump, triple jump, field events, high jump. They're doing the shot put, the hurdles, sprints. I mean, it's crazy, so I just want to say they're being humble. They're not going to admit it. So I'm just going to say it out here.
Thank you. But thank you. I'm glad. No, I'm glad. Yeah.
They're not going to admit it. Danya too. Danya she said she didn't run till her sophomore year. Danya was running like a 55, 54 in the 400 in the 90s. Like that was like crazy open. You know what I'm saying? Like now they do it all the time. But back then, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, like that was a beast.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
No. And I'm glad you spoke on it, because, I remember some stuff. We used to go over to the track meets, but I've gotten more knowledgeable about track post Virginia Tech because of my kids and other athletes I deal with. But, I'm glad you spoke on it because I do remember when y'all came in like we started this show off, y'all came to Tech with a lot of energy. So I remember when y'all got there, but you know, I did not even know. And Melanie, I mean, she's married to one of my teammates, my brother Sean, and I remember her at Tech. I do remember y'all joking her a lot, you know, like because she was from Nova. Not like you, April. You know, you're from Nova, but Melanie was that, you know, they treated her like, you know, Carlton from the Fresh Prince sometimes. Y'all did with the jokes. Not the new, yeah, not. But with that being said, I didn't even know she was Rookie of the Year. That's awesome. That's what's up. Danya, talk about your, you know, your first once you get there, and you know how it was and the adjustment, or maybe it wasn't.
My first year, my first semester was shocking. Um, Coming from up north, I have never dealt with overt racism. Covert, yes, but not overt racism. And I experienced that my very first time at Tech when I was somewhere downtown Blacksburg and someone called Michael Vick a colored boy. And I'm like, they still use that
I
word?
don't know. My cousin, Mike, called him colored.
Colored boy. And I was shocked. I said, you know what? I didn't know they still use that word out loud. So I was shocked. I'm like, okay, let's walk away from this person. Let's leave this area, go back to campus. That was a culture shock for me coming from up north because, like I said, it does exist, but it's overt. It's not. It's it's not. Yeah. My very first semester was difficult academically. I, as the other girls, ladies alluded, we were doing well athletically, but for me, academically, I was struggling to where after my first semester, I was placed on academic probation. And it's not that I wasn't studying, I just did not understand time management. It's just plain and simple. That's not something that they coach you in high school. Now they do, but back in the 90s, it was an afterthought. So I struggled my first semester to where I had like a 1.65 my freshman year, first semester. And I remember my coach called me and it's like, Danielle, you know, I like you. You're a great athlete. But that's how she sounded. But she was like, I have to send you home. If you don't do something miraculously second semester, I had to send you home. And I remember calling my mom and she said, well, I don't know why you're calling me because there's nothing here for you. So you figure it out. So my second semester, I had to figure it out. So I figured out my second semester, as Byrd said, you know, I got my footing a little bit better as far as time management, but that's not something that they taught us back in the day.
No, it's not. And you're one of many of us that went through that, whether it was time management or decision making. It's crazy because college is not just about getting a degree and competing, especially for student athletes. Excuse me, many times it's more so about growing and overcoming stuff. And with that being said, I want to segue into something. And you know, April, I'll start with you. You know, Virginia Tech, as you all have mentioned, and you know, because we were there at the same time, it is a football school. And at that time, y'all came when we were ascending. I mean, we're talking about Sugar Bowls and Orange Bowls and Music City Bowl. Then all of a sudden they're playing for a national championship. You got household names all throughout campus. The basketball team is starting to ascend with Ace and all those guys and Troy Mans and D. Watt, Damon Wallington. I mean, it was a great time. It was a special time. But at the same time, every athlete on this panel right now grows through highs and lows. So April, I'll start with you. This is a tough question, but I mean, all of y'all had a great career, but you're growing and you're competing, right? And you have relationships, you're homesick at times, you have different things you're dealing with. Just talk a little bit about like the success you had, but also some things you had to overcome, kind of like what Danya touched on, because I think it's important for everyone to understand that it's not always you just go and you run a meet and you compete and you medal and you play. You ladies are dealing with stuff. I know I had teammates, y'all know them, that dealt with stuff. Some of them overcame it, some of them had to deal with it in different ways. But April, talk about your journey, you know, and I know you can't really condense your career in this question, but just highlight some of the things you were very proud of as an athlete at Tech, but also some things that bothered you and that you had to overcome.
Oh, I think the very first thing that I had to overcome was I got hurt the first semester of my freshman year. So I ended up, I had a stress fracture in my lower right back. I do triple jump, so it's basically a whole lot of repetitive pounding and stuff like that. So I learned that I was hurt, and a stress fracture, it's very painful. It's not something that healed, like you can't just put like a cast on it. Like you have to like not do anything for at least 6 months to a year. So that was really challenging for me, like mentally, because this was like my very first injury. So I had to, I found out that I was injured like a week before we were going to the conference championship. So I couldn't compete in conference. So I was able to go, and I had to sit there and watch all of my teammates compete, and we won, and so it was it sucked because I just could sit there and watch. And so then going into outdoor, a lot of people don't understand track is 2 seasons. We have indoor and outdoor. So going into outdoor, I couldn't compete at all. So I was just like out there, like the manager of the track team. But I think how I was able to overcome that, I utilized that opportunity with not, unfortunately, I wasn't traveling, but I was able to use that to study, get my grades right, and to get more acclimated at Virginia Tech. And so I think ultimately it worked out. I was able to come back and work back through it. It's something that I deal with to this day. I'm 44 years old. I still have lower back issues. And any athlete knows you still have some little nagging injury. Like we all probably do. But and then of course the biggest challenge was that the coach that recruited us, Victoria Fulcher, left. And for me, she left abruptly. And that really, I think that shattered my naive vision of the world. I did not understand business versus personal. And I think, obviously her leaving, it was business. It wasn't personal. But I'll be honest, I took it personal. You know what I'm saying? Because I did. And I just think that was my biggest challenge. Understand, it was, grow up. It's business versus personal. And I think ultimately, I think that's why I became, or I know that's why I was successful at Virginia Tech, because I got into business mode. I was like, none of this is personal. This is business. It's personal for me, but not for anyone else, and I was like, I have to focus on my grades, my athleticism, my goals that I have for myself, albeit academic or athletic, and so I've always had tunnel vision with my goals, even when I was young and in high school. And so but I always, being young, something had to happen. And that was what it was. When she left, I kind of, got tunnel vision with it. And I was like, look, I'm about to just go hard. And I really kind of dug my heels in, and that's what it was at Virginia Tech.
When she left, because I knew you then, I know you matured a lot. We all have. But were you pissed at her?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'll be 100% honest. I've been pissed for years. Years. Years.
I know. I want you to share that, because sometimes when you and I talk, and you shared a lot with me. I mean, we weren't close at Tech. I was like y'all big brother, but over the years, you told me stuff when we talked about stuff on DMs and texts. And so, no, I'm sorry, but elaborate.
Yeah, I was mad. I would say probably like in the last 5 years have I really kind of emotionally got over it. I felt, and it wasn't that she left, it was that it was how she left for me. She didn't say anything. I just randomly got a letter like 2 weeks before going into our sophomore year that she wasn't coming back. And so I just felt like it was very disrespectful because, at the same time, when I talk about business and personal, from a business standpoint, I was being recruited by other schools, and I chose to come for you and stuff like that. But I had to learn that, you know, it's all a risk. Everything you do, like even if when you get a job, you get a different business opportunity, it's a risk.
No doubt.
And I had to learn and understand that as like
Mm.
just like a cut and dry, black and white, like it is what it is. You have to make lemonade out of lemons.
No doubt.
And I think that's what we all did.
Yeah. Before I get to Melanie, I want you to answer this question, Melanie. But what school? What school? Did she just leave? And y'all even know where she went?
I don't know. You would have to ask Brandi and Jennifer, like
Oh,
they know more.
I
Brandi.
think she went to Illinois.
She
Okay.
did.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think she went
All
to
right.
Illinois.
All right.
Didn't she run for Illinois? Like,
She
didn't she?
did, and she
Okay.
was a
So she went
big
back to her
time
school. Okay.
hurdler. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was kind of like her dream job. Yeah. But I mean, I understand. I didn't experience losing a coach at Tech my 5 years, except for going to my senior year. We lost JB Grimes, and he went home to the SEC where he's from because he was from the South. But during that time, we were spoiled because Tech didn't really lose coaches in football; they stayed forever. Um, Melanie, same question. Successes, highs and lows. Whether it was during track season or even outside of track, accomplishments and also adversity or things you had to overcome.
Yeah, I failed at the start of this to talk about what events I did. Coming in, I was recruited for primarily the 100 hurdles and the short sprints and relays. And then it was a surprise that I won long jump. Not a surprise to me, but a surprise that I won long jump to Victoria Fulcher, the coach at Virginia Tech. I won long jump at our state championships. So she was excited that she was also getting a jumper. So freshman year had a lot of great success. Like I said, made friendships of a lifetime, had an amazing career that freshman year. April opened up some old wounds there, talking about the times that me and Jennifer were running. I mean, I have been a track head since I was a little girl. If you ask me right now, I can riddle off every track and field fact that you want to know since the beginning
Wow.
of time. And so for me, I think you all heard at the start of this that I did not finish off with this amazing group of ladies that I came in with. So when we talk about adversity, it hit me really hard too when Victoria was leaving. But whatever, I was gonna get over that and move forward with the season. But losing Victoria was hard. I don't know, it felt like you said, the wind had been sucked out of my sails. Everything that I had been working for, like dreams of going to the Olympics, all those things started to slowly peel away for me as our sophomore year progressed with our new coach, which was not a good fit. And I was going through a lot of adversity that sophomore year. My mom, I don't know how much I'd shared with everyone, had suffered a brain aneurysm my
Mm.
sophomore year. And then my dad suffered a stroke right after that. So it was like I was dealing with all of those things. My grades were starting to slip, and my grades have never slipped. I always had great grades growing up. And then dealing with my track coach and the personality. And for me, it was not a good fit. And while I know I wasn't always a perfect student athlete, I recall one time that my grades were slipping. I was a business major. And my teacher said, if this is important to you, you will stay here and get this extra time with me. And I said, well, you don't know. I have to go to track practice. And she said, I will write you a note. So I said, okay, whew, perfect, cool. Write me a note so they know why I am late to track practice. And I distinctly remember showing up to track practice with my note in hand. And my coach went off on me on that track in front of everyone. And for me, that was a little bit of a turning point because I was like, if my grades slip in, I was going to Pamplin College of Business, I'm not going to run anyway. So to me, it was a little bit of a turning point. I didn't even enjoy running anymore. And like I said, I've been a trackhead my entire life. I would get so nervous before competing, like I'd have to go to the bathroom like 20 times. I no longer had to go to the bathroom. I didn't really care. And so I just kind of became numb to it. And I wish at that time I would have just transferred, right? But my mind was just thinking of so many other things, like the health of my parents, everything else. And I just wanted to be done. And so that was the turning point for me in my Virginia Tech career. Started off amazing. And it didn't end bad. I mean, I think I came in second in the triple jump and I had to beg, like, hey, I'm a good jumper. Just throw me in triple jump. And I came in right behind April Byrd in triple jump, which is not a small feat at all, and
No
PR'd.
doubt. No
So,
doubt.
I had another great season, but I was done after that. And so, I wish I could have had that business, like just handle it, but it's not all sour grapes. I ran unattached. I did really well unattached. My grades went up, graduated from Virginia Tech, and it has served me extremely well in my career.
Absolutely.
So that was, I would say, my biggest adversity when I was at Virginia Tech.
And real quick, before I move on, the coach that spazzed on you, that went off on you, was the new coach, right? The replaced Vicktory. So
Yep.
I get the sense in this legacy spotlight that all of y'all had the same sentiments about this coach. Just it wasn't a good fit. Interesting. That had to be tough, man, because that's why I love this, because I'm just trying to empathize because I can't relate to that. Like, Beamer came to my living room and was like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And he sold me on it and he was there. I mean, God, he stayed like 20 years after I left. And, it is something about familiarity, like, and the comfort of knowing where your apartment is, your teammates and the same coaches. And then you guys, ladies, excuse me, y'all go through a new coach. And it's just tough, but I think you ended it right, how you persevered. And you had a great career in spite of that. And I think those life lessons, like April mentioned, as you mentioned as well, Melanie, help you now. Brandi, Cook, Brandi, you both, you can go Brandi first. Same question, then Cook, you as well. Diversity, success, highs and lows, because again, I'm just gonna say this again. We all know y'all were great, but behind every great female and male athlete, there's some struggles, and there's also some struggles that lead to success, but it's difficult at times, because you're there 4 or 5 years and we don't know the whole story. Why somebody might not be going out anymore, or why they are quiet during practice, or, they're going home every other weekend, or they kind of just chilling. So Brandi, your story.
Yeah, like Byrd and Danya and Melanie, like I think we all have faced adversity. And I think I got my first real lesson my freshman year. Like Danya, I was on academic probation. I had a 1.5 and
God,
I was really like, I don't want to go back home.
Hold on. Let me ask you this. Go ahead, Danya. You could take yourself off mute. What were you saying?
I said, but we made it out, right, Brandi? That's right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And honestly, it wasn't just when I say I faced a lot of adversity. It was going into a class of 500 kids. That's the way I remember it, my freshman year. And being the only piece of chocolate in that class and not being able to understand the professor, the language barrier.
Oh, yes.
Didn't follow along, like, what the heck is he saying? So the only place that I felt like part of something and that I had, connection was the track team. So it was these ladies right here. So if it wasn't for them, like Byrd, I would have transferred. It was largely these relationships and these bonds and the track, and not just with the ladies on the team, but we had a camaraderie with the football team that made it feel like home. So I remember that first class. I don't remember, it was a political science class. I don't know what my major was at the time, but I quickly got out of that. And I remember him saying, how many of you guys own stock? And I was like, somebody on here owns stock. The whole class, everybody's hand
Isn't that
shot up.
crazy? Isn't that
Everybody's
crazy?
hand shot up. So I was like, I don't want to be I felt isolated. I was like, I don't want to be the only one. So I raised my hand. Then he started calling on people, what stock you own? So I was like, dang, I was like, I started sliding down to the seat. I was like, I don't want him calling on me because I don't know. I was just ignorant. I was like, I don't know. I don't want to say something and then that company is not publicly traded and they were like, how you own stock and they not even, you know, so I was like, let me put my hand down. I don't belong. I felt like I didn't belong. And the only place I felt like I belonged was on the track. So my grades were terrible. And it was largely like I was in engineering science classes, did not belong there. I don't know how I ended up in those classes.
Who chose your classes, man? Who chose your classes?
I don't even remember how that went down. So look at Cook.
It
was terrible. And then you talk about, I think you struck a nerve with Mel. I think I heard her say that. And I was just thinking back on some like my experience, especially my freshman year. These ladies know this, but I had not shared this outside of this, but I will say just for the fact of we're sharing our stories and maybe somebody hearing this, but I think things have changed at this point. But back then it was like, I got pregnant my freshman year and did not know how to face my teammates and my coaches and my family. Like I felt like I let so many people down and myself down. So that summer, I had to, you talk about pushing through and determination and grit. I went to Maymester, summer 1, summer 2. I took classes all summer to make up and recover to stay at Tech my sophomore year. So I don't know if they knew that I had to do all that to stay there, but I had to make straight A's, and I never. Clearly, I didn't not have one A my that first semester. Yeah. But to stay that summer, I had to make straight A's to stay, and did it. So
I think that is amazing, number one, and I did not know that. Again, because you're right. Y'all were my little sisters then and now. I loved y'all. I remember when y'all came in, we partied together. I see you at the facilities. You know, y'all always made me smile and made me laugh. And Brandi, all the times I saw you on campus or at the I never knew any of that.
No,
that's crazy.
Nope.
But that's something I'm glad you shared.
Fulcher Victoria was leaving, but it was because I was still on campus. And I found out just by being on campus and I think part of my story too is I was a heptathlete. So that time management piece, you don't just show up to the meet and run all 7 events. I had to train for 7 events. So I'm out there with the throwers. I'm out there with the sprinters, the jumpers, the hurdlers, because I had to train for all this stuff. So trying to find time to balance classwork. And when I didn't understand what the teacher was saying, trying to make time to go, I didn't even know teacher hours was a thing. Like I heard it, but I was like, how am I gonna fit this in? You know, so it was definitely buckling down and figuring out, okay, what's important and figuring out how to manage it.
I think too, I'll just add this. And again, thank you so much for that, because I did not know, but I think when you go through a life lesson like that, now you have your son, who I met at the ODU Virginia Tech game, who's an athlete, right?
Right, but that's not the.
No, I know it's not him. I know that. I can do a little math.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, you still can pour into him what you went through, and the life lessons and what you overcame. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes kids look at their moms or their dads or their step parents. They're like, you don't really know how it is to go through struggle. I said, listen. That ain't easy. That ain't easy at all. A lot of people would have transferred. Look, y'all from the 7-5, and even if you're from Nova or Jersey or wherever, a lot of people would have went home. You know what I'm saying?
I was so ashamed. I did not want to go home. I did not. I was like, if this was going to be my story, I could have stayed home. This was the life at home. I was like, I'm not right.
Yeah.
I think that's something that all of us kind of bonded on was the fact that we couldn't go home without a degree in hand.
Yep.
And I think all of us knew and understood that. And so even though we all went through our kind of like our individual diversities, or adversities, excuse me, I think the end goal was the same for all of us.
Yep.
And that was to leave Virginia Tech with
Yep.
a degree, you know, so that you can go home to your family, your friends, the people that supported you,
Yep.
you know, throughout your high school career, and show them, you know, like I worked hard and this is what it was. Also, you had, I know y'all had, and I had, there were people looking up to us, you know, and I think that's something that we kind of take for granted, especially when you're young, you 18, 19, you know, you're not realizing there's younger girls or younger boys who were looking up to you when you were graduating and when you were like one of the best in the state. And I think we did understand that. So that was a lot of our motivation. We would joke around like, you know, I had to go to class because I have to come home with a degree. I can't come home. And then also, I know for a fact, I know y'all seen people that went to school and had opportunities and then they come back.
Right.
And then we like, I don't want to be like that person.
Right. And then Byrd, you said it. I think one of our first practices, will y'all remember the stat that Victoria told us? It's 7 of y'all. Did she say what, only one?
Will graduate.
Only 1 out of 7. The statistics said only 1 out of 7 will graduate. So amongst us, we're like looking around like,
not me.
Yeah. So we were all fighting not to be that stat, you know? So however we had to make that happen, we were like, that's not going to be me.
No doubt. And you definitely, you proved it to be true. Cook, you had the car accident. That was your the first situation. Good Lord. I think you guys had told me that in the prep run, but I forgot about it. And I'm just picturing y'all flipping over on 81. I thought it was late at night. So you had the soul food platter. You overcame that with the, and now your highs and lows. How'd you overcome some adversity?
So 2 things. So of course I was one of those ones too. They almost flunked out after the first year. I was in summer school with Brandi. But when you mentioned who helped, you asked somebody who helped them with their courses. So one thing is bad about other sports compared to like football, no one helped us do anything. So basically we didn't get any support in the beginning of setting up class schedules, setting up tutoring. They didn't come show up with help until you were already like flunking out.
Hold on. Time's out, Cook. Just so I'm clear.
That is true.
Because again, no, I'm glad, Danya, because again, that's why let me let you finish. But at the same time, you're telling me, because I mean, I did not know that because we all in that same, the Merriman Center and all that upstairs with Troy Peace and Dorita, and I got Dr. Vi and Lois Berg. So I had them, and I had my regular academic advisor. Y'all didn't have any academic advisors, none
There
of
was
that?
a regular academic advisor?
Yeah,
No,
for your college.
Yeah, you had,
Franklin College of Business.
Yeah,
Brandi,
you
how
might have had that person, but that person didn't consider that you had practice and all that other stuff.
Well,
So
no, Cook, that's
what, like Melanie signed up for all them classes.
Yeah,
I was signing up for regular math. Yeah, when I shouldn't have been.
see, yeah, exactly. That's why I said we had our regular one like Melanie's talking about. And then the football players, we also had the other ones over there in the athletic department, making sure that they, because I remember I scheduled on my visit, and then Dorita and them and Dr. Vaughn and them were like, no, we taking all this out. Because I was in there with some very difficult classes that I shouldn't have been in for a freshman.
They didn't show up to our sophomore year until after we were in trouble.
Yep.
Maybe
Melanie,
it's
go ahead.
because I used to talk to them people. My situation was a little bit different. But I remember freshman year, them taking a look at my curriculum and being like, are you sure this isn't too many credits? You know, it's your first semester at college. And they tried to get me to water down my schedule a little bit, but I was like, no, you know, I'm going to Pamplin College of Business. I'm going to major in business. I gotta take on this many credits. So I do remember them, our athletic counselors, talking to me about my schedule. So I did do some talking my freshman year.
Melanie, I remember the same. I do too. I remember them trying to water down the schedule, and I was like, no. So I can't speak to what Jennifer and them, experienced, but I do know I was pushing back to my academic advisors who really understood. And I was like, no, I'm gonna take this class, you know, not really understanding, because I remember they, you know, were trying to say, take this, you know, it was like a math class that was just a slower pace. Instead of it being like twice a week, you would go every day. And I remember I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. My grades weren't that bad my first semester, but I did fail freshman math. So I had to retake it. But I do recall there wasn't like a whole bunch, like I thought it was cute, Dwight, when you were like, yeah, and then all these other advisors, like y'all have like all these
We had a
layers.
lot. We had
Yes,
a lot.
y'all have
We
layers.
did.
Like we just had one person. And so like if you were like, no, I'm not going to do that, then that was that. Like you guys had like different, like you obviously had Dorita, Karen, Jay Holmes, like all of those
Yeah.
people, like coming, Lois Byrd, you know, all of them that was like really, you know, had you guys back. And they were saying the same things to us too, but it just wasn't as many, I guess you could say. You know?
Sure. No doubt. No, Cook, I'm sorry. Go ahead, finish. Yeah,
No,
because
that's fine.
it was
Yeah, but I guess my thing, like coming from like Portsmouth, the only way I was gonna make it through biology if I might have had like AP biology or some type of AP math. There's no way in the world I was gonna make it. Yeah, so of course that I got F's. And another thing, but they never check to see if we were going to class. Like the football players, yeah, they ain't never do that. The other thing in terms of like Victoria like leaving, you know, that was, you know, sad and hard. But the hardest part was the person that they brought in. And I don't want to use the word abuse, but that's what it was. And especially like, you know, I think everybody probably got some of it, but I know me and Melanie being hurdlers, I don't know what it was, why he was always on our side of the track. I don't know. But we got cursed out probably on the regular. And he didn't know anything about us. And I don't know, maybe he thought that was gonna motivate us, but that was like a complete turn off. So for me, like by the end, I really hate the track. And the only reason I continued was because I couldn't pay to be there out of my pocket. You know, so I even tried doing the math, like, oh, but I don't have enough financial aid. My people don't have anything to give me. The only reason I kept running was because I had to finish.
Yeah. And with that being said, real quick before I get to Danya, the coach was the way it is what it is, but you stuck it out, right? I mean, you obviously you stuck it out. You didn't go back home and you didn't leave. So you do take pride in that, right?
Yeah, I do take pride in that, but it does, you know, you just think about the mental toll, you know, of that for like years. Like when I look at student athletes like now and how they talk about, oh, you know, this student athlete stepped away, like in mental health and student athletes, nobody was concerned about our mental health in the 90s, but we were going through the same things that these kids are going through now. And also I think like with other sports like football, like people considered, when I watched like some of the other, you know, spotlights people, they considered what their situation was, where they were from, what their family was like, what struggles they were going through. No one ever checked in about what was going on with your mama, what was going on with your daddy, what your situation was. It was just like, get out there and run, and you better pass your classes. And that was about it.
And I'm glad you said that, because if I would have said it, it would have been heard. But I think you saying it, it's heard and it's truthful and it's impactful as well as insightful, because the mental health, obviously I'm a licensed therapist. I'm here in my office now, but it was very true. You're talking about whether you're from Portsmouth or Fairfax County or Jersey or whatever, and you at Virginia Tech, and you're learning and growing. Now, obviously we didn't have social media, but like Brandi so gracefully disclosed about her challenges, like you're dealing with a lot. You know, you're women and you're women, you're Black women, and you're dealing with different things, relationships, and all the different things we couldn't even touch on for the sake of time. And then you get a new coach. The coach, like, I was very blessed to have Coach Grimes, who I'm still close with now, and Coach Steinspring, and to have a father figure to look after you. And then, you know, the brotherhood we had on the squad, that's a great village. And that your village was tampered with. And I'm sure, you know, April talked about being homesick and all different things. You know, Danya and Brandi talked about the academic struggles, which y'all were not alone. A lot of us went through different things like that. to me, I have more respect for y'all now than I did before, because I did not know a lot of this. And it's hard because in a lot of ways, I'm glad Brandi touched on it. Y'all bond and y'all sisterhood really kind of helped y'all get through it. You became your own entity of a village to lean on each other. So that's pretty dope. Danya, last part of this segment about, adversity, success, and how you overcame the adversity. You're still muted.
So
Okay.
of course, about the academic probation. After Coach Victoria left, I too considered transferring, but I know that I had met some awesome young ladies, and I was fearful of the unknown, transferring to where? And is that coach going to be the same way or do the same thing that Coach Victoria just did, which is abandon us, basically. So I decided to stay. When the new coach came in, once again, I had high standards of track and field programs, coaches included. It was difficult bonding with him. I remember I was always getting extra laps as a punishment, doing push-ups as a punishment, because I don't think I was talking back to him, but I had a lot of questions about his coaching styles. And so my junior year, I got injured and I had to get surgery on both my shins. My shins were so bad, I had to get surgery, and I had surgery my junior year, and I redshirted my junior year. At that point, I checked out. I was like, I just want to graduate and just go home. And I did. I graduated and I went home, because I think, like I said, his coaching style just did not fit us. And, you have to understand that when athletes said they're hurt, they're hurt. They're not faking, they're not lying. I think for him, he thought I was faking my injuries. And I remember Heather, I love Heather. Heather was my girl. Heather pretty much would actually have to advocate for me, because I was popping 3 or 4 Tylenol before and after practice. Every day. Just to go through practice, I would take 3 or 4 Advils every day. If not Advil, Tylenol. And she said, Danya, stop. You're destroying your body. And she would have to intervene on my behalf. I'm like, listen, coach, she's done. She's in pain. And so when I had stress fractures and I had to get surgery, I was like, you don't care. You don't care. I'm just going to just do this thing, get my degree, and I'm out. And that's what I did.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, you did. And what you get your degree in?
Nutrition.
Nutrition. And I'm going to go around real quick. April, what you get your degree in?
Communications.
Cook.
Human development.
Brandi.
Human resources and Black studies.
Okay. And Melanie.
Yeah.
Marketing management.
Sorry, Melanie. Brandi made me laugh. Marketing management, you said? Awesome. I think that's probably the dopest part of this interview, that y'all all graduated. And y'all, in a lot of ways, I don't know if it was Cook or Brandi that made it, but you guys committed to each other and also wanted to make sure y'all return home with that degree. Just a few more questions and we're going to wrap up, because I know as we record this, I'm keeping track of the time. I know 2 of y'all got this show that y'all got to check out. So I'm trying to stay on y'all good side, because I got so much love for y'all. But let's look at Virginia Tech now. Much is said, as April and Melanie always tell me, and other people, many people, I'm the Virginia Tech ambassador, right? Because of my voice and the platform. I mean, it is what it is. One thing I do take pride in is the fact that I was part of something bigger than myself. Me and so many men helped build something that has got a legacy and expectations beyond my career. The Lunch Pail and Beamer Ball, and now Coach Pryor, who was there 3 years with me as a grad assistant, is back now trying to rebuild the program. I didn't pledge a fraternity, but I have a brotherhood that lasts a lifetime. All the guys, man, I miss them. I saw Nate at a concert, at the Nas Wu-Tang concert, and all those guys, man, I love them. But I remember when y'all came in, and I want to say this: Virginia Tech women's track is a big time program, and the same pride I have for helping building the Virginia Tech football program, I wanted to do this Legacy Spotlight because in a lot of ways, this is a class that helped really get the program on the map. You were not in the ACC at the time. You were in the Atlantic 10. And I'll start with you, Melanie, when you look at the Virginia Tech women's track program, now I know you have a lot of things you got to concern, and you and Sully got that youth football team, you're fundraising, you got so much stuff going on. But if you ever get a chance, in the program, I know we saw each other a few years ago at the spring game. We hung out upstairs, and it was raining that day. The school itself, the community, they got more restaurants and hotels. When you look at the program now, what role, Melanie, I'll start with you in your own words, do you feel like you contributed to that?
Wow. Yeah, I just came back from Virginia Tech actually this last weekend. I was down there for homecoming.
Okay.
And I was there last year for spring game and getting to see the facilities and everything else there. How you said that you felt about your football team and really putting it on the map, that is precisely how I feel about myself, these young ladies here on tonight's call, and the other ladies who unfortunately were not part of this, right? We put Virginia Tech track and field on the map, and we did it in a big way. Coming in our freshman year, there was no way Virginia Tech was expected to be first place anywhere at Atlantic 10. I remember UMass and others, they had been winning it like every year. We came in and blew the whole thing up across like every single event. It wasn't even close. And we came in as true freshmen doing that. And so I take great pride in knowing that that is something that we established, that we did, and helped bring in a lot of amazing recruits, Queen Harris and so many others after her that have come in there and made their mark on our Virginia Tech track and field tradition. But it started with us, our amazing seven.
Absolutely. Speak on it. Brandi, I'm getting to you next. It's your time, like April said. It's time for you to flex and speak on it. You need to speak on it because I'm glad Melanie mentioned Queen Harris. And I know I don't have Candace and Dietra on here, but they were great too. Dietra was a phenomenal runner. But, again, you guys came in together, so I wanted to get y'all on. Brandi, speak on your impact.
I don't know if I can say it any better than Melanie. I'm very proud of the program, very proud that I went to Tech. I'm taking my son in a couple of weeks, middle of November, to visit, and I feel so much pride and love for Tech. Like Melanie, coming out of there with a degree has opened so many doors for me in the Northern Virginia area. I'm like, did people really know about Tech? Like,
oh yeah.
But from where I'm from, it wasn't a thing. So, but yeah, I just feel very proud and that I could be a part of something. And like Melanie said, we came in and we showed up, and not just first place across the board, but we had depth, like 1, 2, 3 across the board, killing it, relays, sprints, hurdles. So, and not just winning, but blowing up their records. So, and putting them out of reach, at that time, we were putting them out of reach. I think records, Queen and them, was taking our records down. When did they come through? This is like 10 years later. So, yeah.
No, that's good. And you're right about back home, because I remember I was heavily recruited about Florida, and I had the VT when I came home before Tech started to blow up. And they were like, where you go to school in Vermont? And I was like, nah, that ain't Vermont, man. But no, you're right. Cook, your thoughts on your impact, part of this phenomenal recruiting class that helped change the trajectory of Virginia Tech track?
For me, I feel like one of the ancestors, when I think about, and they're laughing because probably back in the day, I used to always sing those good Negro spirituals out there at the track. And that's what it felt like. So when I look at this next, these new generations of, these track girls, I'm like, yeah, I was out there in that field. I planted that cotton for you. I went out there and picked it, and now you all are, living a good life off our hard work.
Not the Negro spirituals, right?
No, it's true. She was singing it. No, it's true.
Yeah, she's not every day
It was
going
always
right.
good for Negro hymns.
We've had.
Yes. Cook had a song.
I love it. Danya, your impact.
Honestly, I've never thought about it, but now that we're talking about it, Yeah, we did. We showed up and showed out.
You're
I
right.
remember we went from AC Atlantic 10 to Big East. And even when we transitioned to Big East, we were still crushing the records. And they were like, who are these girls from Virginia Tech? Because prior to us coming in, Virginia Tech, we weren't a contender in track and field. Football and somewhat basketball, yes, but never in track and field. So now that I'm looking back, I'm like, yeah, we made a big impact on the program moving forward. And yeah, we were the ancestors, as Cook say, that yeah, we put this program on the map, and I'm proud of us. I'm especially proud of April because she still is one of our original seven, and you know, dear to my heart. But yeah, she's one of the best that I've seen in triple jump, literally seen in triple jump to this
I
day.
love it. I love it how y'all show love. Funny story about April before she answers this question. So you know how much I love y'all, and we check in with each other on social media if we see each other out. April, I love y'all personality. So back when they were trying to get a hold of her to get her in the Hall of Fame, I'm DMing her on Facebook. I'm like, April, yo, they trying to get a hold of you. She's like, who? For what? I mean, what do they want? You know how you read it? This is all through text and DMing, but I could hear her voice. And she was like, I mean, Vic, what, who? I mean, you sure? I'm like, yes, they need to get a, I wanted her to be surprised. I knew, but then she finally responded. And next thing you know, she was inducted. So I didn't kind of get her in it, but I kind of connected them, or else they weren't going, April was not going to respond. But April, you joke with me about making sure, even though I always post all this stuff about a lot of stuff, but I want you to share your thoughts too about this special group and your impact that you had on the program when it was not what it is now.
I'm definitely very proud of us. I do, like I told you, we didn't touch on a whole lot of like our complaints that we had, a lot of, issues. Like I definitely don't want to throw Virginia Tech under the bus. I don't, but Virginia Tech has grown a lot too. Like we talk about our growth, and I just think as an athletic program, Virginia Tech has grown. I think we had a lot of complaints or a lot of issues, some of the things that we felt weren't being handled correctly from an administrative point from the athletic department. And I know at the time I felt, don't get me wrong, like at the time, like probably like our junior and senior year, I started to see a difference. Like they were trying, but I will say like once we left, I think they really started to look at the program in a different light. And I think they started to look at it as an actual program and not just like, oh, here are these athletes here that are kind of randomly, and I think, without going into a whole thing, I think that might have been one of the reasons that Victoria left when she did, from a business standpoint, they weren't really what should have been from on the business side of Virginia Tech for the athletes that they have recruited, in my opinion. And so now I've seen them implement a lot of the things that we were complaining about. A lot of that has gone away. And we understood in order to keep athletes at this level and at this caliber, you're going to have to do that, period. I don't care what program you are, what college you are, you're not going to have, and when we were at Virginia Tech, they were always like, oh, we want to be this athletic school. We want to have it not just a football school. And I know you said Virginia Tech is still a football school, but I beg to differ. I think Virginia Tech is starting to emerge as an athletic school.
No, I don't disagree with that. What I'm saying is, in the eyes of observers, people always see football, but if you look at the wrestling team, like you're saying, nationally, women's softball, baseball, nationally ranked, soccer, really, if anything, the other sports have surpassed football, so yeah, I'm in agreement. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And of course, football, like I think Virginia Tech football is always going to remain like one of the top upper echelon. I know we're going through a transition period right now. It is what it is. It's growth. And that's something that we have to go through, but I do think having the other sports, especially track, I think a lot of people don't understand how much track influences other sports. And I think Virginia Tech, namely once we got the new athletic director, what's his name? I'm sorry. The current
Whit Babcock. Whit
yeah,
Babcock.
Whit
Whit
Babcock.
Babcock.
I think once Whit got there, he was, in my opinion, the key to like really understanding being an athletic director, meaning I have to ensure that all of these sports are being successful, not just football, not just basketball. And there is ways to make money. Yeah, of course, track is never going to make as much money as football and vice versa. But, you know, I digress. It is what it is. But I can talk all day about this. But, you know, it's a lot of stuff we didn't hit on, and we were, you know, but
Well, you touched on it in your legacy spotlight. Like
yeah.
you talked about how the Title IX situation, I encourage everybody watching to go back and watch April Byrd's legacy spotlight, because we talked more about a lot of the seeds you planted came to fruition in a good way after y'all graduated, which was important to touch on the track girls legacy spotlight, because a lot of the stuff y'all went to complain to Jim Weaver at the time was the big reason why there was a big push to get your class in, not just to make the program better, but because they had to make sure that they took care of women's sports. And also some of the stuff, y'all got a lot of crumbs, y'all got a lot of leftovers, and you went and you ladies voiced your opinion. April, I know you did, you talked about it in your legacy spotlight. So, you know, it's never enough time, but at the same time, this is why we did this collectively, because it's important for people to know their history and to know that there were other female standout track runners such as all of y'all before Queen and other ones there. So I'm in agreement. And I know with you, April, you always going to make sure your thoughts are known, even if we go like another 2 hours. But that's a good thing. I think the fact that you and the rest of your sisters on this legacy spotlight speak your mind and advocate. And I think, to me, I embrace that. I appreciate that. I think it's good. I think it kind of transitioned me to my next question, and I'll stick with you, April. As we wrap up, you know, I have 2 daughters and 1 son, and I'm married, and I work with female clients, athletes and non-athletes. I'm big into mental health. I'm big into women's rights. You know, I'm always posting stuff, even if it's, you know, stuff that is sad, where, you know, sexual assaults and things happen. And, you know, I want people to be aware. You being, you know, a mother and also a former standout track athlete, you've talked about this in your own legacy spotlight. For the young ladies that may say this, for other women that were at Tech or even coming up, what feedback or advice do you have for them? Because you went through your different adversities and highs and lows at Tech and even after Tech, but it's made you strong and made you resilient. So in your own words, what feedback do you have for women out here that are going to see this to stay the course and not give up, and to advocate for themselves? What do you recommend, or what feedback do you have for them? And even if it's not just sports, in life.
You know, I would say trust your instincts. And what I tell my daughters, I have 3 daughters, I say, if it doesn't feel right, it's not. I think a lot of times as women, society tells us to question ourselves. You know, just from experience, like if you have an issue, like a lot of people feel like your issue or your adversity is, or a lot of men in power make you feel like whatever your issue is not important or it's annoying. And I know I talked about this, like that's how I felt when we would go to Jim Weaver with our issues. I felt like he felt like we were a burden. You know, I feel like sometimes, unfortunately, people feel like, oh, female sports is too much of a hassle. Like, I think they don't see that there's money to be made with female sports. And I think that's the biggest lie. And I think once someone really like kind of cracks that, I will understand that will happen. But I think, I don't know, like, just be brave. Like, speak up if there's some issue that you're experiencing. Also, in this day and age, I like, it's so many resources to support you, even just social media. Like going out there, putting it out there on social media, you can automatically get like some feedback, some support that you may not be getting. I feel like some of the things that I see that are still happening, you know, even on a professional level and in college and stuff like that, is crazy to me, because I'm like, how is this happening and social media is here? You know, I'm like, people are lucky social media wasn't available when we were coming up, because I would have been like, you know, da 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 da. But I also see a lot of, and this is just the youth sports, and this is male and female, a lot of parents who were not athletes put their kids in situations that they don't understand is abusive, because they assume that a coach is supposed to curse you out. No, he's not. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Like, and I get it with like football, and you know, and I get it, like there may be times where your coach does curse you out for something that you did, you know, and I get that, but that shouldn't be an everyday thing. Like your coach shouldn't just be like disrespecting you, demeaning you, you know, dragging you. Like that's not motivation. And I think that's something that a lot of coaches, unfortunately, they'll see like these Hall of Fame coaches doing, and they assume that that's how he's talking to him all the time. No, he might just be yelling at him and going off him in this moment, but no, like understanding the difference between discipline and abuse. And I think those lines, especially like, I thought with social media it would make it less, but I think it's making it worse, because people are posting like things, in my opinion, that are fake when it comes to being like a real athlete. You know, and this is a whole other podcast, you know, Dwight. So I'm just gonna leave it there. I just think like, this is my advice to parents of young athletes. I know you talk about women, but this may be women, because it's usually mothers. You know, we're the ones that are usually traipsing our kids and stuff like that. But you know, don't just accept anything because you want your child to be successful at athletics. My thing is, if your kid is good, they're going to be successful, period. You know, you don't have to accept negativity or abuse or things of that nature to be successful in life, period. So that's fine.
I agree. No, that's what's up. And that's fine. You touched on parents, because that makes a lot of sense. Danya, in your own words.
What I would tell a young athlete right now is, if help is not being offered, ask for it, seek it out, whether it's mental, academic, whatever it is. I didn't know how to ask. I didn't know where to ask, who to ask. So that's one advice I would tell any young athlete, whether it doesn't matter what sport. If it's not being offered to you, then seek it out.
I love it. No, it's real. And I think that's true, because I know it to be true, because I learned that very quickly at Tech. I had to ask questions. Even after I've left Tech, I've asked questions, and many times that's how you get ahead, and that's how you're able to sustain. Great point. Melanie, in your own words.
Yeah, for advice that I would give to any young adult, whether they're an athlete or not, is it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And you're going to run into many hurdles along the way. Sometimes it'll knock you down, but as long as you get back up and finish, you will be just fine. That's what I tell any and everyone that I encounter. And I know that sometimes it feels like things are insurmountable. They're not. And the other thing I would also say is to never let anyone dim your light, right? And, you know, April touched upon a lot of it. I'm used to coaches cursing, so that wasn't the issue. My high school coaches cursed. My parents cursed.
There's a difference.
Yeah, there's a big difference from what was experienced, and you know, complaints were made, things like that. That's a whole nother podcast, like April said. But I just want people to focus on the finish line. What is your end goal, right? And don't let anything, not a person, not an event, nothing stand in your way. And just finish. That's the biggest advice I can give anyone. Just
Love it.
finish.
I love it. Look,
So the first thing will be, coming from where I come from, Portsmouth and all of that. So for me, the biggest thing is like just knowing that if you have a talent, using that talent to make it out of your situation. And so for me, even though I didn't make it, the dream or make it to the Olympics, all those things, it did allow me to go to a great school and get my degree, which led to other degrees, which led me to where I am now. So that's probably like no matter what your talent is, it could be running, it could be, I don't know, you might be good at drawing, finding that talent and doing what you need to, do to succeed. The other thing is, finding mentors and adults in your life that can filter through the mess at their age. Because I feel like at 17, 18 years old, making that decision, I mean, even though it was a good decision to go to tech, it was something that I couldn't interpret as a child. Like, how we talk about the business aspect versus if I had like some adults to like sit in the room, they could probably have picked up on some of those things that I never could have picked up on. And so like when I see some kids now, like we got, the transfer portal, which is good and bad. Like I feel like some of these kids now, when I look at their situation, they have parents that went to college, they have parents that are athletes that can help, help them, through the process.
I love it. That's actually another great point about the mentor piece, because that's what I do now. I do a lot of mentoring. And Brandi, to round things out.
I mean, like, how do I follow the advice of all these ladies? Melanie, especially with the speak up for yourself and don't let anyone dim your light. I was going to say, advocate for yourself, ask questions. Don't be afraid of rejection or somebody telling you no, because at the end of the day, if you don't ask, you're still in the situation that you're in. So you have nothing to lose. So I think, and the other thing I would say, adding to the mentor piece, network beyond the track. Get exposure beyond your sport or your event. Because it serves you well after your track career, whatever sport you're doing, it'll serve you well, in the long run. We traveled a lot for track, and I wish I got to see the life and experience outside of the track and other campuses and meet other students that were, probably in the same situation I was in. So, or that were doing things that I may have been interested in at the time.
Well, that's what's up. No, I agree. And I agree with all of y'all points. I think they're valuable points, and they're points that we can use for the rest of our life, throughout our journey, throughout our experiences. And this has been a great honor having y'all on. I know we could have went another hour, but I wanted to touch on this, man. I wanted to make sure that we highlighted each and every one of your legacies. I know there's more to y'all than track and field. You're beautiful women, mothers, and different things you guys are doing, but at the same time, it's important that we share your story so people know that what y'all went through. And it also, seeing y'all together reminds me of the times we were at Tech together, April and her sharp tongue and, going at it. And, Danya's always chill, and Cook was always funny and witty, and Melanie was always so well-spoken, and she was funny without trying. And Brandi was just really chilling and cool and from around the way. All of y'all are great people, and I'm really glad we were able to do this, man. This has been a great legacy spotlight, man. And I just want to tell everybody to continue to support these women and their endeavors. If you need me, you ladies know that I'm here for y'all as your big brother. And when I run this, it's going to be great. And for those that subscribe to Vicktory Life, make sure that you continue to hit that like button and you share it. And like I say every episode, no matter where you do, no matter where you go, make sure you have a positive impact and you leave a great legacy, man. Again, join the Vicktory Life movement. Also, keep striving for success and keep pushing forward, man. Thank you again, ladies. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.